Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's charting session. Hopefully, everybody is having a good day so far. It is Monday, August 28th. Today, we're going to be going over the trades that we took today in the morning, kind of talking a little bit about Mondays, some news going into the rest of the week, and then kind of we'll end off on what I'm looking at going into the rest of the week. So, first thing I want to talk about is today. I did take two trades today. I took two losses. First one was around full size. Second one was not as bad. I definitely lowered my size a lot, so I'm down around a little bit less than 2K today, which I'm fine with because I definitely took good setups today. But I want to talk about more of just the action today and talking about what I can expect in the future. So going into the morning, again, my bias going on NQ was bearish. We had that SMT at the highs. We get big displacement to the downside. I do want to start to see us start to roll back over. I still am bearish. We ended up just going nowhere today. I do want to start to see this roll back over and start to see lower prices. So going into the morning, I did have confidence that sell side was going to be these stacked equal lows here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 lows down here, and I still think this is going to act as sell side, and I think that this will eventually get taken. So going into the morning, I was looking to start to see us reject off that fair value gap and start to see displacement to the downside to validate that bias and to see these lows. So looking at the 1 minute going into the morning, we end up putting in a high and get displacement through the low. Now, this would have been a little bit of an early entry, this fair value gap. Now, the reason I didn't take this is because I wanted to see a continuation more to the downside because ES at the time was not having any sort of movement to the downside. So I was more bearish on NQ, but ES was sort of causing a lot of choppier action because ES was a lot more bullish going into the morning. So I waited for this continuation to the downside. Once I saw us continue to sell off, I looked to take a short. I go to the 2 minute, and I noticed we had, the 3 minute, and I noticed we had a fair value gap and discount right here. So I zoomed into the 1 minute, and I ended up taking a short entry around here with my stop somewhere here, and I was looking to see those lows. Now, right when I entered, we just started to chop. Market's going absolutely nowhere. Once I saw this action, I knew today was going to be very choppy. Now, one thing that I want to talk about today, and something that I want you guys to start to use as well to your advantage, is trust what the market is telling you when you take trades. Now, I've gotten to a point with my trading where I have a lot of confidence with my edge. I know what works for me. I know that I'm very confident with when I can find the draw and liquidity. When I can't, right? I'll tell you guys, I'm still going to say, draw and liquidity is off right now. That's the best way to not trade, right? If I don't have confident draw, there's no reason I should be trading, right? But going into the morning, I did have a confident draw. So when I take a trade going into the morning, and the chart does not respect what that draw on liquidity is, and I have a lot of confidence with it, right? That automatically tells me that something is off in its unfavorable market conditions. Now, I've just gotten to a point where I can just trust that when I am wrong, that automatically just says to me that it's unfavorable market conditions, because when we do have clear and concise action, it should be, clear to us. Like earlier months before summer, a lot of this month, or a lot of just the summer months are very choppy action. Now you might say, oh, Justin, what does that mean when we get, better action? So normally like in the later months, September, November, December, and in the earlier months, when I say that we get better action, that means when we have a clear draw on liquidity, it is very concise, and all of PD arrays to go there most of the time get respected. A lot of the internal models that we trade will get respected, right? Like we get a high, break a structure, that for value gap most of the time is going to get respected, and we're going to go straight to whatever the draw on liquidity is, right? In a lot of these summer months, we get very choppy action. Now, again, there's a lot of reasons we can say, okay, number one, today's a Monday. A lot of the times Mondays are shit action. Number two, we had no news today. Number three, it was a UK bank holiday. And number four, we're in August right now. So I am pretty fine with taking these trades. I mean, it's not a terrible trade at all. I think this was a good setup. I was expecting to see a lot more downside, especially after we had this big move to the downside. I mean, looking at the 5 minute, before that candle ended up closing at the lows, we get big displacement back in this range. I had a lot of confidence. This, 9 out of 10 times we should sell off right to go to here, but we ended up just chopping the rest of the morning here until we ended up coming up and then selling back off. So going into the morning, totally fine taking this loss. And again, if I was to take another trade after this, I still would not have gotten my entry because I would have looked to come up here. We take internal, we reject that fair value gap, and then we get displacement to the downside. We get break of structure. So I would look to take a fair value gap trade here. But again, right now we just go straight to the downside, right? So there's no really entry given. We take internal low here. We start to bounce. Again, just continuing to chop, right? Markets today were absolute awful price action. This is not something we want to trade, right? When every sort of fair value gap is getting disrespected, that's not something we want to see, right? And another thing too is I was possibly looking to maybe take a short. Or I wasn't looking, but I was watching to see if this fair value gap gets ran through. So at the time, I stopped trading, but I was still watching price action just to study. And when we took this high right here and we end up coming back into this fair value gap, most of the time, this should get respected and we should see this low, right? But we ended up just going right back through that to go back to the high. So a lot of the action today, very, very choppy. And then a big move out of nowhere, no pullback. And then that these fair value gaps just get ran right back through to the upside. So a lot of the action today was all over the place. Now, the only other good setup today, but I just happened to be away from my computer at the time, is we ended up coming up, sweeping that internal liquidity. Again, what are we waiting for? Displacement to the downside, waiting. All right, we put in a low, we come up. All right, we put in another low, and then this was the first low that we actually, got broken through with displacement. We look for a pullback into discount. So this would have been your entry right here on this fair value gap. And I know a lot of you guys did take this in the chat, so congrats to whoever took that in the chat. I'm glad you guys saw that because I probably would have taken the same trade. So if you did, I know this worked out really nicely. You guys got banked, so that was a great trade to whoever took that in the chat. So good on you guys for seeing that. So then after this displacement back down, this massive move is we should 100%. We should absolutely go and take this low. Like, there is no question about it that we should not come and take this low, right? When we come up and take this internal liquidity and we're looking at the 5-minute, this is a, spot on short model, right? We should come up, reject this fair value gap. We should now see a lot of upside, and then we should automatically sell off to take this low, right? And I've seen it countless times again. So when we didn't do that, that throws me off, right? Because that's showing that the action today is absolutely all over the place. Notice we stayed in this range the entire day, but we had fast and concisive moves. There was no entries. It was just straight down, choppy morning, and then straight down out of nowhere, and then chop, and then more chop, and then straight up, and then chop, and then straight down, and then chop, and then straight up, right? So a lot of the times, looking back at today, I don't want you guys to get too shaken up, right? I know I ended up losing. I didn't lose, too much just because I have good risk. But I did take 2 losing trades today, and a lot of the time I am fine with that just because I'm recognizing the action and understanding that today is unfavorable, right? Unfavorable market conditions. I'm looking to start to see if we can start to get better action later in the week. But because of this, today was kind of my day where I looked at my journal. I'm like, Mondays are not good for trading. So starting next week, I'm deciding to no longer trade Mondays. Mondays are my worst days, and that is why we journal, right? Because I want to go back in my journal, see what can I take away from my experience, right? What can I take away and say, okay, where am I most profitable? Where am I least profitable? And for the last, 2 months or so in the summer, my least profitable days have been Mondays. So starting from now on, I'm going to most likely not do live sessions in the morning and maybe just wake up later, maybe watch the PM session. But I will probably not be trading Mondays anymore and instead wait for Tuesdays to really get the week started. So the second trade that I ended up taking in the PM was right here. Once we come up and Q comes back into this fair value gap, right? I'm still looking to see displacement to the downside. I mean, looking at this model, this looks like we should sell off from here straight to this low. We have a clear drawn liquidity. We have internal swept. We get huge displacement back down. We're pulling back into this this fair value gap right here. We're in optimal trade entry of this range, right? We get a nice rejection perfectly off that fair value gap. So I zoom in for internal structure. What am I waiting for? I'm waiting for displacement to the downside. Not yet, not yet. There we go. We finally get some lows broken with a lot of move to the downside, right? Big move to the downside. What am I waiting for? Pull back to discounted fair value gap. And then this is where I took that second trade where I entered short, put my stop at this high right here. Again, really nice risk reward on this. Looking to see that low. And then I ended up getting stopped out right there. So I was only in half my size with this trade. Actually, a little bit less than half my size. And again, beautiful risk reward on this. 8 RR, totally fine with this trade getting stopped out. But this action today was all over the place. I don't think it was clear. I don't think it had any sort of direction. And since we didn't have news, since it is on Monday, a lot of the times we will see this time and time again when it comes to Mondays. So looking back, right, what can we get out of the day? What did we do good? What did we do right? Well, first of all, I stayed patient. Only took, decent setups. I took, fine setups that I would normally take on a regular trading day. I had good risk management. When I noticed that price action was unfavorable on my second trade, I lowered my position size heavily. Instead of trading my full position and trying to make that money back, I entered half my size because I recognized that action is a little bit lower probability. And I stepped away when I knew I shouldn't be trading anymore, right? So what did I not do good? Maybe I should have taken that second trade. Maybe is it just recognizing price action and knowing just by looking at this that it's a little bit lower probability. One thing as well that I would say is we did have this SMT at the low. At ES, we barely took that low. We just barely took that low right here. So technically we were forming SMT, but if I'm being honest, I think this is a little bit hindsight, but it is something that we do want to notice. But coming out of the day, I'm not really that mad. I'm not that upset because I know that I followed my rules and I took good setups. So, and again, that's the difference between understanding building good habits versus, are you just getting lucky, right? So I'm totally fine taking losses, knowing that we came into the market, we stayed patient, we took good setups, and a lot of the time we're going to be rewarded for that, right? So days like this are days where this is where, risk management and defense is so important, because if you are over leveraged in days like this, these are the days where you cannot get hurt that bad. So when you go into the next day, you're automatically looking to make that money back, right? I go into today, lose a little bit of money, and then I make a significant amount more when we actually get some good action. We get a good setup, right? So totally fine with this day, and we'll see if we start to get some cleaner action going into tomorrow. So next thing as well, let's talk about my bias going into tomorrow. So first of all, my bias is still the same. I mean, we literally have gone nowhere. So it feels like I'm looking at Monday from Sunday night because it looks like the exact same chart. So I am still bearish going into this week. The only thing that's going to make me bullish is if we run these fair value gaps. If we run that to the upside, then I can expect to see this high, but I'm looking to see displacement to the downside. Now, big displacement to the downside, for me to be very confident that the draw is going to be this low, I would need to see this internal low get broken through with displacement, right? Because what we would be looking for is this would now become our market structure shift out of this range, right? Because we want to overlap those models, right? So on a bigger time frame, we're pulling back to that inverse. For me to have a strong validation to go lower, I would need to see displacement through this low and then look to maybe see internal model on the rejection to maybe then go lower, right? So one thing that we do want to keep in mind, though, is we do have this fair value gap here. We have a really big imbalance that hasn't been touched. So another possibility we could possibly see is if we do not get displacement, which we absolutely could not get displacement, if we come down and sweep these lows, I will be looking for longs, right? That's when it comes to waiting to see the reaction, right? Once that level's taken, I want to see the reaction. Are we coming down and then having big displacement back up? Because if then, we're definitely going higher, right? And this does look pretty bullish structure from just this internal model, right? But if we do get displacement to the downside, through that, then that becomes our market structure shift on a bigger time frame, and then I could expect to see lower prices, right? So a lot of it is just going to depend on what happens after we sweep that low. Now, we might be able to get an internal model. If we do, I would be targeting that low, right? If we come up, maybe sweep this buy side level, and then look to see a lot of displacement, right? Because right now we are just accumulating and chopping. So we could potentially maybe see a power of 3 model, a lot of accumulation right here. I would like to see manipulation and then look to see distribution to sell side. That is a possibility we could see. But a lot of my bias going into tomorrow and the rest of the week is going to depend on what happens in the overnight sessions. So we'll see what happens when I wake up tomorrow and we can see what market wants to do. But until then, gonna my bias is going to be a little bit more loose, and we'll see what kind of action we get tomorrow. Yeah, I will still be trading Fridays. Let me check some other things. Let's check gold here. Gold had a beautiful trade on gold today. I was looking to take gold. Again, like we said, my bias was very clear. We actually ended up going straight to that buy side level. That morning gold trade never ended up getting tapped. which was right here. I was looking to see that fair value gap. We ended up just going kind of straight up to there after sweeping these lows. And we ended up just going all the way to that buy side level like we were talking about in the morning. So gold had good action right now. Bigger time frame. Let's see where we are. Could definitely possibly expect to see higher prices. We've definitely came back, respected that fair value gap, but we did just sweep that internal buy side. So would want to now start to see that internal reaction start to play out to maybe see if we come back and take this low here. So gold just kind of letting it do its thing here. Check CL. Yeah, CL's no touch, of course. And then ES, pretty much the exact same bias on ES. ES is having a lot more bullish price action compared to NQ. So we could absolutely run this fair value gap again. Right now we are in this 1 hour. So if we do run through this to the upside, I definitely will expect us to come up and take this high here. So right now it's just letting the market do its thing, tell us what it wants to do, and then look to react to price when we get a clear draw on liquidity from then. Anybody have any questions? Would you not consider that move down 1305, 1315? Let me see. Are you talking about here? Yeah. 05. No, I would not. The reason is because there's no clear low here, right? It's too zoomed in. I want to see us put in an actual low. Notice that here it's like, it's just a wick. There's no really low here, right? And notice when we get displacement, most of the time we're going to form some sort of imbalance. So when we come down, this is now a low put in, right? Because then we get a big bounce. So now this is a clear low to us, right? Just like this is a clear low to us, right? So when you're trying to guess if it is a low or not, most of the time it's not clear enough, right? That's why a lot of times you'll see me take the second entry instead of the first, because I want to see a strong validation of the draw before taking that entry, right? So once we get this, right, that's that displacement that we want to see. That's the first low that actually gets broken through after taking that high, right? Yeah, just because of the price action today as well and the hesitation to go lower, I am starting to be a little bit more bullish. Is that setup unicorn? What do you mean by unicorn? Historically, end of August always produces a move to the upside. September opens higher than August closes and eventually breaks down. Yeah, I agree. August, we should probably see. If I'm being completely honest, just looking at this price action and noticing kind of where we are, this fair value gap could absolutely just get ran through. I would not be surprised if we just continue up to take this high out. When do we expect the liquidity to be taken? I have no idea. It's waiting for it to actually happen. I'm not trying to predict when it's going to happen unless we get an internal model to target the liquidity. But I don't care really when it happens, because when it does happen, I'll be there to play the reaction. Yes, you can be in a trade with a micro and a mini at the same time. How do you read the news? I use Forex. Actually, speaking of that, let's take a look at. I don't really remember. So Monday, again, that bank holiday. Tuesday, tomorrow we have consumer confidence, 10 a.m. and JOLTS. So we should start to see a little bit quicker action tomorrow. But we do have 10 a.m. news. That's something that we want to pay attention to as well. Exactly. We are here to react to price, not predict price. I'm still confused on the question, brother. When do we expect the liquidity to be taken, or is it just a continuation of the trend? I don't really know how to answer that question. If you had have entered that trade on NQ instead of ES, would it not have been smart to close position once ES swept the low? Which trade? The second trade? The one you missed. Yes, absolutely. Once ES takes this low, you should be, if you're an NQ, you should be all out. Yes, absolutely. Great question. Yes. Yeah, if you took that short on NQ, once ES takes this low, you should be all out of your position on NQ. How do your lines connect so perfectly? I have this little magnet here, right here. Wait for the setups. If you've been in Tactical Traders for over 90 days and you're attending these sessions, then your edge should be sharp. Wait for the setup. FOMO isn't a thing anymore, guys. Exactly, Manuel. And guys, Manuel, a lot of the people that have been in this community for a month or 2 months, I guarantee you all of them can attest to say that days like this happen and we know what we are looking for, right? A lot of the time, we're not going into every single day questioning certain things. That's the whole point about building a confident edge, right? That's the number one thing you need in trading is to have confidence with your edge, right? So having that no hesitation, I'm fine with getting stopped out, recognizing the action, having good risk management, and protecting myself. But when we do get good setups and we do get good action, you are heavily rewarded for those things. And your wins will be significantly bigger than your losses if you are following those good rules. I don't care to miss out on a setup, right? I don't care what the market does. If I'm not in a position, I don't care what happens overnight. And I don't care if there's an opportunity that doesn't fit my edge, right? A lot of you guys get upset when there's, I'll tell you this. When I was in my first year of trading, I would get upset when the market would move in a direction. And I was like, you know what? The market could go up right now. And when it does go up, I would get upset because I didn't take that trade, right? Why is that building? Why is that a bad habit? Why is that bad? The reason is because I had no systemic or ideal edge that would even allow me to take that trade. So why would I be upset for missing out on a move that I should have never even been looking at to begin with, right? That's the difference between focusing on just making quick money and focusing on building a confident edge. You should only be looking to take setups that apply to your specific edge and your specific strategy. The way that you do this is the more that you constantly are looking for these things, the more and easier it is to read. When you're looking at 20 different strategies, 20 different things, 20 different stocks, whatever it is, you're clouding that bias. You're clouding that confidence. And that's why you guys don't have true confidence, is because you're overcomplicating it. Focus on one or two things. Focus on the draw and liquidity, understanding imbalances and fair value gaps, understanding equilibrium, understanding, where price is most likely to go, understanding short and buy models, right? Break of structures, blah, blah, blah. Though that is the only thing that you really need to be successful. The more that you trade that and the more that you gain experience just watching and noticing those things and waiting for those things, you are going to just explode in your trading journey. Been in Tactical Traders for almost 2 months, and I'm the best I have ever been in 1.5 years. Love these charting sessions. Thank you for everything you do in the community. Much love, Londa. That means a lot. Not gonna lie, starting to get good at understanding this, just waiting for the setup to come to me and apply risk. That simple. All thanks to you, brother. Much love. Exactly. That's all it is. You're just waiting for the setup. When it appears, you apply good risk. If you get stopped, you get stopped. If your price target gets hit, your price target gets hit. But when you constantly come into the market day in, day out, following good rules and waiting for those setups, you're going to be rewarded in the long run. All right. I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. Again, not really much to go over. Today is one of those days where this just solidified my idea to not trade Mondays anymore. I mean, just look, this was pretty shitty action. There was some good setups, but the action today was definitely unfavorable. So we'll come in tomorrow, come into the rest of the week, looking to see, again, good setups coming in, building good habits every day. We do these charting sessions so we can review what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and we can fix those things and we can build those good things, right? So totally fine taking a loss today because I know that we'll easily make it back when we get some good action. So enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Or once you learn to accept the risk you put on the table and entering confidently on your edge, that's when trading gets good. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Sometimes I feel like it's going to take ages. That's your problem, is you're not patient enough. Yeah, it's absolutely needs to be a mindset shift. You should go into every day expecting to not take a trade. Like I always say, you should go into every trade expecting to take a loss, and you should go into every day expecting not to take a trade. Why? Because less is always more with trading. The setup should be so good. It should look so clear to you that you have to take the setup. But instead, it's the exact opposite of what you're looking at. You go into the market and you see one little, oh, this could be something. This might be an opportunity here. Let me fucking over leverage on a half-ass setup that I don't even know is going to work or have any confidence with, but it looks okay. Just because you need that instant dopamine hit of touching a fucking enter button, right? That is what I'm trying to snap out of your heads, is you do not have the discipline and the patience right now. And trust me, you might be like me. You might be like me where you have to get slapped 1,000 times in the fucking face for you to realize there is no other way of being successful in the trading space than having that level of patience and that level of discipline. I can go into an entire week and not take a single trade in an entire week. That's a possibility. If I don't see a setup, I'm not going to take a trade. It's simple. But you have to get to that point. It takes time. Trust me, it took me 2.5 years to get to that point. And a lot of losses for me to realize that that's the only way to be successful. But that's why we are here, is for me to show you guys what good habits and bad habits look like, so we can build on those things repeatedly. y'all are gassing me up too much. Justin is this generation's Mark Douglas. That is crazy. Thank you, though. Thank you. Again, psychology is a huge part of trading. And I think not a lot of people talk about the nitty gritty of it. Yes, they'll talk about, oh my God, I don't want to be patient. Oh my God, I don't want to be disciplined. Or, oh, I have anxiety, but they don't understand why that is. Why do you have anxiety? Okay, there's multiple reasons you can have anxiety. Number one, the biggest one that I think is the biggest problem for a lot of people is you just don't have confidence with your edge. You are always second guessing. Number two, you're over leveraged. You're having way too much risk on the table that you can't afford to lose, right? So you're having anxiousness. Number three, you just don't have enough experience, right? All of these things combined are just going to take time, guys. And then you look at those problems and say, okay, let's guys, think about this logically. Don't overcomplicate it. Think about this logically, okay? I want everybody to think right now, okay? I want everybody to think in the chat. What do you think? I'm going to give you guys a minute to answer this. I want everybody to answer this question, right? What do you think your biggest problem is right now in your trading? What do you think your biggest problem is that's holding you back? All right, let's look at these over. Okay, Vincent, over leveraging. Okay, let's talk about why. Why do you think your biggest problem right now is over leveraging? Vincent, what do you think? Not accepting loss? Okay. All right. So you're over leveraging because you aren't accepting your losses. You aren't accepting the risk that you're putting on the table, right? Or you're trying to even make it back. Okay, how can we fix this now? So we have the problem, we have the reasoning, and now how can we fix it? Okay. Now, a lot of the reasons why you're having these problems is not a trading issue. It's a mental issue. So we have to think about it that way and not a technical way, right? So if you're afraid, or if you're not accepting the risk, how can we change this, right? Okay. I want you to have this practice. I want you to go into 1 week maybe even more. And I want you to focus on just taking good setups. But when you do take those good setups, I want you to take a quarter of your size. I do not want you to focus on making money. I do not want you to focus on showing off a P&L. I don't even want you looking at your P&L. I want you to go into a fresh week, take good setups. In every single trade you take, I want you to take size that you don't give a fuck about. Like 2 micros, 3 micros, like a quarter of your size, right? No more than a quarter of what you normally trade. And I want you to take those size, and I want you to enter those trades, and I want you to, at the end of that day, go into your journal and write down everything that was different, everything you did right, everything you did wrong. I want you to talk about how you felt during those trades. Did you let it go to your price target? Did you let it go to your stop loss? Were you more profitable? All of those things is what I want you to look at. And I guarantee you what you will find is when you have less risk on the table, something that you can afford to lose, you will find yourself not making spontaneous decisions in the trade. You have the patience to wait for good setups. You have the patience to let it go to your stop loss. You have the patience to let it go to your price target. And I guarantee you will be more profitable out of that week. Okay? Somebody else. Market experience. Okay. My biggest problem right now is market experience. How can we fix this? Right now, luckily, that is a good problem to have because that means that you're early on. And what's good about being early on is I can push good habits into your brain. So I'm not trying to already fix bad habits that you've built, right? The hard part is once you've already built up such bad habits, it's hard to start to reverse that. But if you're new and you don't have experience, that's good. That's fine. Your main focus should be building experience, right? But your main focus should not just be building experience. It should be building experience doing the right thing, right? So again, just like the earlier one, do not focus on making money. Your main focus should be going into the market and just watching, testing ideas, watching price action, what works, what doesn't work. Put on some trades, but very small size, right? Right now, you just want to build confidence, right? You don't have experience to be able to, have a good confident draw on liquidity or a good confident, entry, right? So when you do see those things, when you do go into the day and let's say, all right, I see it, I had a short setup here. I was thinking about taking shorts, but I didn't do it just because I didn't have, enough confidence, but it ended up working out. All right, I'm going to go back and journal this now and say, hey, I was starting to think that this was a good short setup and it ended up working out. I was just too afraid. I'm going to journal this and I'm going to continuously watch that setup. And then you go into the next day and then you see something similar and you say, oh, that might have worked right there. Oh, I'm going to journal that again. And then you go into another day and you see the same thing and you're like, you know what? I've seen this before. I've actually fucking seen this before. Let me put something on the table. Not a lot. But let me put something on the table just so I can get that feeling of putting on a trade with some sort of idea and some sort of confidence in what I'm looking for, right? And then you do the same thing again. And then you do the same thing again. And then the more that you repeat these things of building good habits, not focusing on making money, not over leveraging, being patient, being disciplined, that is when you will gain real worthy experience. Because guess what? There's people who's been trading 5 fucking years in this industry and still don't make money. Do you think that is good experience? It's experience, but is that good experience? Probably not, right? Because that's 5 years of building up bad habits, trying to escape a race that they can't accept the fact that they're doing something wrong. That's why I built this Discord, is to make sure that you guys don't go through the shit that I had to go through. I'm trying to put in your heads the truth. All right, another one, FOMO. My biggest problem right now is FOMO. Okay, what do you think the reasoning you have FOMO? Number one, I think it could be a couple of different things. Number one, the main thing is you want to make money. You just want the satisfaction of it. A lot of people go into the trading day and they just want the satisfaction and that dopamine hit of putting on a trade because they're impatient, right? So that's number one. You're impatient. Number two, you're not in the right mindset. The way that I want you to think about FOMO or fear of missing out is any single time that a trade ends up going in your favor and you don't take the setup right, you miss your entry, I want you to talk to yourself in your head and say, you know what? I'm totally fine missing this. You know why I'm totally fine missing this? Because I had this idea in my head it ended up working out. So not only is that building confidence to my edge, but it's building good experience, right? Not bad experience, good experience. And it's building up my patience and my discipline to not chase things, which is eventually in the future going to reward me because I'm building these good habits, right? Number two, I should not be focused on making money. A lot of the times, it starts to go in your favor and you end up forgetting about the rules. You end up adding to the position way too late, so your risk to reward is very skewed. And then after, by the time you lose, you're like, why the fuck did I take that trade, right? So you don't even want to get to that point. You just want to be able to understand, flip that mindset and look at it in the good way. Say, hey, this is building confidence in my edge. I'm glad this worked out. I'm totally fine missing this trade, but you know what? There is always going to be another opportunity. The markets are not going anywhere, guys. You're going to wake up tomorrow and the markets open at the exact same fucking time. You guys are trading like it says this is the last day in fucking existence, right? There is always going to be another setup. There's always going to be another opportunity. That is what I want you to think. So just with these ideas, right? I want you to go journal and ask yourself, what are my biggest problems right now? Why do what can I expect? Why am I losing? Why am I winning also? But figure out what those problems are and then just reverse it. What do you think is causing that? Okay, what do you think is causing that? And then start to think about why you're thinking the way you're thinking and then why that is impacting the way you're acting. That as well. I know what everyone's issues are. You're all trying to get into a funded account in 2 days and you're blowing up accounts because of it. Absolutely. Guys, funded accounts set you up for failure. They say, oh my God, you get, oh my God, so many payouts. This is a one-step challenge. Oh my God, it's so easy. And then you go into the expecting, listening to them saying, oh my God, it's so easy. I'm going to pass this so quick. You take a bunch of trades, a lot of the time, not good setups. They're over leveraged. And then you fail it, and then the way that you think about it is you're like, oh my God, there's another 80% sale. Let me go buy another fucking funded right now. But what you don't realize is you are so focused on passing a funded that the last month that you've been failing fundeds, you have no progression because you've been building bad habits trying to pass those fundeds. That's why you need to be focusing on building good habits and actually trading the right way. Guys, the money will come. Trust me, the money will come. But if you are not focusing on what is actually going to make you money in the long run, you won't get there. Yes, absolutely. Trading is a battle with yourself. It is not you versus the market. It is you versus you. Think of trading like building a home. Do you want someone to build you a home fast with a shit foundation or build it right? Slow with a solid foundation. Absolutely. Justin, I started trading 2 months ago on a 50K. It is 50.1K, and I traded every day pretty much, lol. You got any tips on how I can break through this? I've only been trading a total of 2 months. Brother, if you've been trading 2 months and you have not lost your account, then props on fucking you, bro. Props on you. I would say the main thing you focus on is make sure you're journaling at the end of every day, looking at what you're doing right, review the setups, journal them, and focus on just taking good setups, brother. And if you have struggled with them, when we do these charting sessions at night, send me screenshots of those trades that you take and we can review them together. Should be getting a part-time job tomorrow. Recently, I've been chasing the idea of getting payouts too much instead of actually focusing on my trading. I've already felt a lot less pressure since applying. Highly recommend if you guys are having the problem. Absolutely. Guys, that is huge. Guys, you should be having a job. If you do not have a job that is supporting your dream of becoming a profitable trader, that is only adding more stress and anxiety onto your life. I was working 2 jobs when I was in my early trading career. Two jobs to support it. Because the thought of you going into a trade and losing money that you cannot afford to lose, that's your rent money. That's for fucking groceries. That's for like surviving. You cannot lose that, right? Having that backup of knowing that you already have income coming in makes the emotional stress come off your chest. Very, very important. You need to have something supporting you on the side. How did you have time to work 2 jobs and trade? and school. I was in school too. I had to sacrifice a lot of things. I had to sacrifice a lot of things. I had no friends. Rarely ever would I hang out with people. I didn't talk to people at school because I was in class trading on my laptop in the back of the class. Right when I got out of school, I went home for 20 minutes, changed, and then went to work the rest of the night. And then when I got home, I would do my pre-market analysis and go to bed. And I would fucking repeat for a year because I wanted it bad. And you got to ask yourself how bad you want it. Much love, Manuel. Have a good night, brother. And learning to enjoy the journey, guys. You guys are so focused on making money and changing your life. And trust me, you will get there. But learn to wake up every morning just excited to learn and excited to gain experience and excited to fail and excited to do well. Because when your failure in this early of your stage should not be significant. You should not be blowing up insane amounts of money like I did. I had to learn that the hard way. You should be focusing on just enjoying the journey every day you wake up and just experiencing and learning. All right, guys. That is all from me tonight. Thank you for coming to tonight's charting session. One thing I want to say before I end it too is I want everybody in here to look at the viewer participants right now and look at the difference of how many people come to these sessions versus how many people come to the live trading events. And I want you to know that everybody in here will automatically outperform every single person that comes to the live sessions. Because there's a difference between people that want handouts and want the easy way, and there's people that actually are willing to put in the work and they want to learn and they want to actually do this. So I respect everybody in here. I wish you all the best. We are continuing to grind. I love this community. We are building something great here. I'm very excited for the future. We're going to continue to keep killing it. I'm excited for the future months to come. And enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. If everybody has any extra questions, feel free to just at me in the Discord as well. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.